lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
What is up, Steeler Nation? That was a tough game to watch. I'll be 100% honest with you. I'm Daniel J. This is State of the Steelers. Welcome to the post-game show. Today, we'll be talking about the loss. The Pittsburgh Steelers fall to the New England Patriots 17-14 in a game that was frustrating, to say the least. I don't think I've been more frustrated in the offense in some time. I think that the Steelers, we'll get into it. Well, let's first, we have some folks in the live chat already. We have Steelers Freak. How you doing? He's talking about how the head coach here, let's read it. He says, Inept Pop Warner, for years. Great teams and great coaches don't allow issues like this to linger that long. I am amazed that the Steelers team is the only organization that allows the head coach to skate. I mean, yeah, this one, there's a lot of people that are at fault, or a lot of places to take the blame, so to speak. Coaching is one of them. Mitch Trubisky is a big part of what went wrong in this game, in my opinion. It was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. How's it going, Devin? From the Here We Go show. Kenny, yeah. I heard the chants from the TV. I'm sure he was there in stadium. I'm sure the chants were a lot louder there. Hopefully, in my opinion, I think the Steelers need to make a switch. We'll talk about that soon. Brian Brown, how's it going? And Steelers fan, always here. She fell asleep. Yeah, she sure did. So let's get into it. So the Steelers lose 17-14 in an uninspiring game that, in my opinion, was just piss poor. It's the Mitch show, so to speak. Mitch Trubisky was 21 for 33 with 168 yards, 5.1 yard average, and a 73.8 rating, 1 TD, 1 interception. And man, was that interception horrible. It's like I thought he was throwing it purposely to the opposite team. Like, what are you doing, man? What are you doing? It's like I understand they should have been intercepted the first guy that tipped it up, number 30. I'm not familiar with who he is. I know Jalen Mills ended up getting the pick off of the tip there. However, that should have been intercepted the first time through there. He was standing right there, right in front of him. I couldn't believe he threw the ball there. And this was just another example of what I've been kind of talking about this entire year. You know, up to this point, I know it's only been 2 games, but also including the preseason. I was not happy with the signing or the acquisition of Mitch Trubisky. I understood, what the Pittsburgh Steelers do and what they like to do. They look at the pedigree of a player. They'll see somebody who's, at one point a top first-round draft pick and think that they can fix them in some form or fashion. However, when you look at the body of his work, what do you expect him to become? He is who he is. He struggles with more than one reads. He has accuracy issues down the field. He throws constantly off of his back foot. He does not have trust in his offensive line, whether it was in Pittsburgh, which is giving him this regular season and a crazy amount of time to throw the ball, much more than I thought that they would get. And when I say a crazy amount, I'm not saying that this is an elite offensive line by any means, but compared to what the expectation was going into this regular season based on what we had seen last year in this offensive line and what we had seen in the preseason, man, he's got a top offensive line that's giving him quite a bit of time to throw the ball. And, he's not trusted it. He leaves clean pockets, and his mechanics are all over the place, which is why he's so wildly inaccurate. He is wildly inaccurate. And maybe, seeing what Mitch Trubisky did trying to throw the ball over the middle of the field and getting picked off just because, I don't know if he didn't see the guy or not, but maybe that's perhaps why the Steelers are avoiding the middle of the field. As you guys had heard in the pregame leading up to this, I had said that the attacking the middle of the field was going to be important. Bentley, who was injured prior to this game, was went into this game with injury issues, left this game injured. There was an opening in the middle of the field, and the Steelers just failed to attack it. Let's look at the next gen stats real quick of Trubisky, and you can see what I'm talking about. Is not attacking anything 10 yards up in the middle of the field. You don't need to have anybody there. Like, this is the same plan that the Steelers had last season with Ben Roethlisberger. So is Matt Canada? Maybe. You know, I don't understand why this team is struggling so bad. I mean, outside of this quarterback thing, you know, and I'm trying not to pile it on Mitch because, you know, he did do some good things. He had some good throws, but for the most part, you know, it was a Mitch show. It really was. And that interception, and then also for the third consecutive week in a row, and I'm going all the way back into preseason here, Mitch took a sack that was unnecessary. I spotted that out as a concern earlier in this offseason. I continue to explain, you know, try to figure this out. And not only that, you have to look at the situation of where he took that sack today. Time was running down. You know, the Steelers had kind of gotten in position to maybe perhaps get a field goal or something, you know, right before the half. And Mitch thinks that he can run all the way across the length of the field, loses like probably 10 seconds if he had just thrown the ball away once he passed the outside of the tackle box, and yet takes another sack, you know. And it's just like, you know, I was watching the Dallas Cowboys versus the Cincinnati Bengals, and their quarterback was Cooper Rush. That guy looks a lot better than Mitch Trubisky. He looks a lot more comfortable. He moves the ball down the field. He attacks the middle of the field. It's like, geez, you know, with the performances that Mitch Trubisky has put out there, is there a quarterback that's currently playing in the league that you would take Mitch over? I don't think so. You know, I really don't. It's gotten to that point where, and this may be a hot take, but I think Mason Rudolph could have done a lot better job than Mitch Trubisky. At least Mason Rudolph would attack the ball down the field and give George Pickens an opportunity to catch the ball and do something, give a chance to with these playmakers. Because in my opinion, you know, going into this offseason or going into this regular season, I looked at what the Steelers have on the outside as far as receivers go. Deontay Johnson is showing that he's got the capabilities and the potential of being that number one wide receiver. You have George Pickens, who has the potential to be a possible rookie of the year candidate. You have Pat Freiermuth, who is a tight end, in my opinion, he's a stud. He's going to be a dog. And, you know, you got Najee Harris back there who, I'll be honest, I've watched part of the game over again, and I'm not too impressed with Najee right now with the way he's running the ball. Now, I understand he's got some injuries going on. He had a foot injury that was not related to the Liz Frank, according to the Pittsburgh Steelers and according to Najee Harris, that came up in the last game against Cincinnati. But prior to that, he had missed the majority of training camp with a Liz Frank sprain. And so, with that being said, I anticipated him being, you know, probably a little bit rusty and struggling. However, you know, until he's able to get that burst back, I think Jaylen Warren did a fantastic job. I think Najee Harris did do a little bit better towards the game as the game moved on. But in my opinion, he looked better as a receiver than he did as a runner in this game. You know, we look at the running stats. He was 15 for 49 yards, and on the reception side, he was 4 for 40. You know, in my opinion, he still got 80 yards, but or 85 or 89 yards, whatever it is, and was a positive player on the field. I just really like the way Jaylen Warren is running right now, and I think that Jaylen is finding those holes and attacking, and his vision is just that much. A little bit better at this point, you know, until because here's the thing with Najee Harris. He's not a speed guy. He's not a fast guy. He's not going to outrun anyone. And with these type of lower leg injuries, that's going to affect his already, challenge speed, so to speak, compared to the norm of the NFL. You can expect him to look a little bit slower, and man, he looks almost, the running needs to get a little bit better. But as far as the offensive line goes, I think they did a fantastic job this game. There was an injury. Devin Bush went out with a foot injury. It's unknown at this time if how serious it is. I'm sure Tomlin will have a better update on the Tuesday presser. It's a short week. The Steelers go against the Cleveland Browns, and they play in Cleveland on Thursday night against Jacoby Brissett, which also, they lost today. The biggest favor or the biggest positive today was that the entire AFC North lost. The Miami Dolphins came back and a surprising come from behind victory to beat the Ravens. And the same thing for the Jets. I think they had to get like an onside kick. Joe Flacco had to look like old school Joe Flacco out there on the Brownie Elf and got the dog pound who had their spirits up for a little bit, just crush them. It was great. Also, all the teams except for the Bengals who, when it comes to the head-to-head battle or matchup, the Steelers have that win. But the Ravens and the Browns also lost the AFC team. So that helps out for what it's worth. Let's see. Minka Fitzpatrick made another pick. I think that he's going to be a guy that is definitely on path to be a defensive player of the year nominee or whatever you want to call it. I think he's on that path. He's phenomenal. I think the defensive backs did well. I know Akil Witherspoon let Aguilar score a touchdown and basically moss him, but he was in the best position there. The Steelers are going against other players that are extremely talented. They're professional NFL players, and so with that being said, they're going to make some plays. It was what it was, but in my opinion, he had great. He defended that great. He's got some great ball hawking abilities, some skills there to track the ball and catch it. So when in that position, 7 out of 10 times, I think he's going to either break that play up or intercept it himself. And so, but going up against NFL talent and things of that nature, and in that position, 3 out of those 10 times is going to end up with a completion, and that ended up being what the case was today. Now, another big play that ended up happening was the fumble by Gunnar Olszewski. Now, that allowed, that was after a stop, and that allowed the New England Patriots, a short field, ended up getting a touchdown on the play or on the drive. That was a huge play. I want to show you guys one other thing, though, about the play. So it wasn't just a mental error on the player, but let's look at it. So this is a still image from the game on the play. This is the punt that resulted in the fumble. And let's count the players that are on the field. You have Gunnar Olszewski, who's way out back gonna field the punt. So there's one. You have 2 guys right here on this one gunner here. So there's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players on the field. There's nobody covering the gunner up top. Not saying that's the reason why he fumbled, that perhaps not saying that's the reason why he fumbled is because somebody wasn't covering the gunner that ended up getting in his face. But that's not that's not solid football. That's not being mentally prepared for the game, being situationally sound and knowing when you're supposed to be on the field. That one goes to Danny Smith, in my opinion. But yeah, when you have 10 players on the field, you're playing losing football, in my opinion. But to kind of just fall back in line in full circle, it wasn't just, Mitch Trubisky's fault that the game was lost. However, let's just say Gunnar Olszewski doesn't fumble the ball and the Steelers end up managing to win that game. Is it Mitch Trubisky's fault that they would have won that game. I don't think so. I think that would have been another game that the Steelers, if would have been victorious, would have been victorious in spite of Mitch Trubisky versus because of him. And that's becoming a little bit troublesome. He's not a good quarterback, in my opinion. I don't know anything about him personally, nothing against him, but there's not much that's good there that you see. And in my opinion, if you have a guy who is that can accurately throw the ball down the field, who's not afraid to attack the middle, Mitch Trubisky did say and come out in his press conference that when asked why don't they attack the middle of the field, he stated something to the effect that concepts need to be given or drawn up or put in place so that they can attack the middle of the field. And so it's kind of like they're playing the blame game here. I don't think that it's Matt Canada who's telling him to avoid the middle of the field. I'm going to go back and watch the all-22. I don't think that there are routes that aren't there. In my opinion, Mitch Trubisky looks at one route, has a dump off, and then that's it. He doesn't go through the progression. He's a very one-read guy. And in my opinion, it's going to be troublesome. It's going to be troublesome. Let's go into the live chat, see some of these comments real quick. Wow, there's quite a bit. And everybody thought Mason was a check down artist. Brandon Brown. Yeah. I'm not going to say that he's a check down guy, but you know what? He kind of is. And when he throws the ball down the field, it's so inaccurate. It's insane. It is insane. Let's see. I don't want to butcher your name, bro, but I think it's Devarium. Says, bro, you've been completely correct, and I've been watching and listening to your commentary. Mitch straight sucks, and Pickett played better in the ones in preseason period. Yeah. Like I said, I've had some concerns with him, and these concerns aren't just concerns that I've seen in preseason here and now. It's also going back to Chicago. It's listening to players that have spoken with him or played with him. I'm sorry. You have Levi Wallace. You have Tyler Mitakevich, who have a connection to the Pittsburgh Steelers and to the Buffalo Bills while Mitch Trubisky was a member of the Buffalo Bills. And when Mitch Trubisky was acquired by the Steelers, they asked these two players, like, hey, what did you guys think about Mitch? Now, this is a teammate. This is a guy that they went to battle with, prepared with. You would think that the conversation referencing would be super high, right? Well, what they said about him was that if Josh Allen would have gone down, that Mitch Trubisky could have won them games or stuck in, and they would have been okay. Not that he was a franchise guy, not that he was a guy, not that he could be the guy, and compete with Josh Allen. None of those things came up. And so translating it to where it is now and what we've seen in Chicago, he is who he is, we know what Mason Rudolph is, and I think he's had like 11 starts. I think we know what Mitch has in over 50. It's just my opinion. Let's see. KP time for sure. Let's see. We'll go through a few. Let's see. So Mr. Malavi says, I'm way off. Balls drop have nothing to do with the QB. Run game, trash, same thing. Kenny wouldn't have fared no better, and Kenny isn't the better QB. That's why they got him on the bench. I disagree, buddy. I truly do. When you're looking at the field, there's a couple of things that happen. When a play is snapped, from the time that the play is called in the huddle to the time the ball is snapped, there's a lot of things that go down, right? You have more than one play that gets put in. And so once they go to the line of scrimmage, the real play that they're going to be running is based off of what Mitch Trubisky is seeing, right? And that's pre-snap. And even at that, routes and things of that can change as certain things change throughout the development of the play. And so if you have certain teams that are scheming a certain way and you have a certain look and they change it as you snap the ball, you need to be able to read that and understand that that's happening. And also make sure that your receivers read and understand the same thing that you're seeing. That way you're throwing the ball in the right place. He doesn't seem confident in any of those things. He's got one read and one read only, and then he comes off of it and then goes to his this check down guy. As far as drop passes, I don't recall there being very many in this game. I recall there being a lot of balls positioned very difficult places for the receivers to catch the ball. I'm just a fan. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Thank you for the comment. Let's see. Mitch has given us 2 games of this. Matt Canada has given us more than a whole season of this Patriot offense. I don't know. Now, so here's the thing with the Matt Canada thing. Like, at a certain point, and I'm not trying to give him a pass on this, but last season he had a 40-ish-year-old quarterback that couldn't move, who had his arm strength wasn't what it was, right? This year he has a quarterback who seems gun shy, who seems unconfident in the pocket, throwing off his back foot, across his body, and making some sketchy decisions. You know, Tomlin says it best, and this is what he means by that. When you have red paint, you paint the barn red. You know, based on the players that he has, he's probably running the concepts and the things that Mitch Trubisky is able to do and comprehend. Based on what I'm seeing right now, I don't think that Mitch Trubisky can run a complex offense. I don't think he's got it up between the ears during the pressure moments to run complex different routes and things of that nature. The reason why this offense looks so poor might be because who they have back there. So it's just very difficult until, you know, the only way we're going to know is until there's a change, to be honest with you. I mean, you go back even as far back as 2003, the Pittsburgh Steelers were 6-10. You look at the 2004 team that went, 15-1. What was the main difference there? One player, quarterback. Let's see. Let's go down a few more. Let's see. From my view, George was open down the field so many times. Mason definitely finds him if he plays. And I'm seeing that. There was one play, and I can't wait for the all-22 to come out, but it was I believe it was a play-action pass that ended up going a Pat Fryer move short of the sticks. And George Pickens looked like he was running wide, freaking open down the sideline. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me. It's insane. It's insane. Let's see. Mr. Malibu says, Kenny isn't better anything if he's not starting. There ain't no need to be overhyping Pickens when the coach said he needs to learn. Y'all over ignoring the facts. It doesn't. That's not entirely true. So we can't really tell what Pickett has until he gets in there. Now, you guys can say, hey, you know what? What he went up against preseason was vanilla, blah, blah, blah. It wasn't what you were supposed to have seen. But against that vanilla defense, he did what he was supposed to have done correctly and looked better against that vanilla defense versus Mitch Trubisky. That's just, that might be my opinion, but the stats don't lie either. If you go look at the statistics and the drives and the scoring drives that he had, that don't lie. That's just the same thing too. If Mitch Trubisky was that much better against those vanilla defenses, then he would have had more scoring opportunity or touchdowns and have a better QBR and the whole 9 yards than Kenny Pickett because he was in the same situation. But like I said, you might be right. It is preseason. There's a lot that we don't know about, and it's not about rushing him, but it comes down to the point where it's like, does he the lack of play that that Mitch Trubisky currently is putting out there, is it worth the experience that Kenny Pickett could be getting or gaining from playing right now, especially while the offensive line is playing pretty good? They're pass protecting pretty well, and they got we've already beaten the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cleveland Browns are without Deshaun Watson. It's a situation, in my opinion, that if you're going to put him in, you could put him in now. After that, you have the Jets on a long week at home. It could lead to some positive confidence, in my opinion, in that direction, and a spark that the Steelers need. But my opinion, what Kenny Pickett does and has is accuracy down the field and confidence in the pocket. He looks a lot more confident in there. I know he has, in my opinion, he's sometimes gets a little bit of happy feet here and there, but he's always looking down the field and looking to make the big, the next play or make a play. Mitch Trubisky is looking to try to outrun a defensive end and or trying to beat him to the out of bounds line to get a 2-yard sack or loss. Steelers Nation Australia says it best. I'll just leave it at that. Let's see. Let's scroll down a little bit more. I don't mean to. Let's see. All right. SOS proves that first pick was a bust. Harris has no NFL vision and thinks he is on the Bama team. His name is sexier than his run style. Najee Harris, what he did last year with the offensive line was amazing. I can't take that away from him. And this year he's played a little bit below the line, in my opinion, as well. Vision is a concern. I think the injuries and the overtraining may have a little bit to do with it. I think the Steelers are managing his play time. We saw Jaylen Warren there a little bit more. And so time will tell. He's only ran behind this offensive line a couple of weeks. Let's see him gel through that. If we continue to get stuff like this, he's threatening to become in the same breath of like Trent Richardson. He's got the stats that are getting kind of close there. It is a little concerning. However, he has been dealing with some lower leg injuries. And when you have that style of running back that is more of that power running back, he's not the speed guy. He's not going to outrun anybody. If it affects his speed, then you can see his production being limited. However, I think he's going to be okay. Let's give him a little bit more time because he has proven with a bad offensive line that he can do something last year. And I don't think there's a running back with the offensive line that the Steelers had last year that they could have performed as well as Najee Harris. Let's see. Lauren says, Mitch Trubisky needs to play better or be benched. I agree. I don't know if Tomlin's going to do it. I know he's not going to change it before the start of this game. It's not going to be Kenny Pickett to start against the Cleveland Browns. I think that if Mitch comes out early and it's a Mitch show again, then I think Kenny Pickett could see some playing time next week. And if that ends up being the case, then I think that's once you switch to Kenny, you can't unswitch. That's the one thing that happens that's the one thing that I guess the line that if Tomlin crosses, it's going to be very difficult for him to go back to like Mitch Trubisky or anybody else. I'm not saying you can't. Mike Tomlin did it in 2019. He benched Mason for Duck, and then he benched Duck for Mason, and then he went back and forth. Mason ended up getting injured. However, he did flip-flop. However, none of those guys were a first-round heir apparent QB franchise quarterback. So once you make that switch, that's it. Now, based on what I've seen from Mitch Trubisky, I don't think that the line falls too far south or down for Kenny Pickett. I think he's going to play either right on par or even better, in my opinion. Let me see. Corky's research says you cannot play Kenny, give Mason a helmet. I think that Mason Rudolph would have done better than Mitch Trubisky in these two games. And I think that he could have kept Kenny Pickett off the field. But at this point, I don't think you can jump Kenny Pickett with Mason Rudolph. But like I said, I do think that Mason Rudolph is a guy that would have done better in this situation. Even going into last offseason, and I don't think I would have taken Mitch Trubisky over Mason Rudolph or anybody. And, going back to the Matt Canada thing, I'll ask you guys this real quick. Do you think that Mitch Trubisky is better than Ben Roethlisberger, even last year? And if he's not better than Ben Roethlisberger, then we shouldn't expect his performance to be better than Ben Roethlisberger in this offense. I think Ben Roethlisberger wins this game against New England. I think he wins the game last week against Cincinnati in regulation. And I'm talking about old Ben. I'm not talking about Ben in his prime. I'm talking about probably Ben coming out of the basement, leaving the podcast scene for for 4 quarters. I think he probably could still outperform Mitch Trubisky in these 2 games. That's my opinion, though. Let's see. Lou Dietrich says Gunner has no excuse. The ball hit him in the hands, lack of focus. Yeah, well, actually, it hit him in the face mask. And you're right. You know, he probably looked down and took his eye off the ball and hit him in the face mask, and it cost the game. I mean, that was one of the key factors. It wasn't, like I said, it wasn't just Mitch Trubisky. It goes back to him because he's in control of the most important position on the field. However, it wasn't just him, you know. Gunnar Olszewski, that was a big fumble, you know, and it's not the first time that he's put the ball on the ground. You know, in preseason, he did that fighting for I believe it was a 4th down, and ended up being a turnover on downs and would have been a turnover anyways. But still, he put the ball on the ground. So he's going to be, hopefully it doesn't get into his head. But I think that, you know, he's an all-pro punt returner, kick returner for a reason. So we have a short week. He's going to have to erase that from his memory for sure. For sure. Let me see. Yeah, there was a lot of plays where Mitch Trubisky didn't take his eyes off, and I know what you're referring to. So Corky's research says Mitch never took his eyes off at 22, and he's referring to the 4th down deep ball that he underthrew. That should have also been a pass interference, but yeah, no, I agree. It is what it is. It's who he is. It's become who he is, and I'm not sure why anybody expects anything different from him. And I think defenses are going to play him in a certain way until he knows that he figures out a way to beat it. Let's see. Brian says it would have been another great defensive performance if the Steelers had won. That's what we've been saying. When the offense is bad, you can't have any mistakes. Yeah, the margin of error is so small with the Pittsburgh Steelers because of the way and the style that they play offense and in the amount of points that they gather. And in my opinion, it's not sustainable. It's really not. The Steelers need to score more than this. Definitely do. Hey, Robin, how's it going? All the way from Hawaii. Wow. Let's see. Bubisky. Yeah, that's what it seemed like. You know, you can hear the Kenny chants and the boos through the TV. It was insane. It was insane. Let's see. This is true. The punter had more yards punting than Mitch Trubisky had passing. That is a huge stat. That is huge. And it was just one of those things where it's like he's not getting it done. And okay, let's just say it's the same show from Kenny Pickett. Let's just say it's worst case scenario. It's the same thing. You got check down Charlie. You got somebody who's can only read one player and then either throw it to him, check it down, or run away. What difference is that what we're getting now? At least get the kid some experience. He's 24 years old. He's older than some of the quarterbacks that are starting in this league. He's not a baby. He has a lot of starts in college. He's seasoned. He's maybe not has the experience against the NFL talent or NFL teams, but he's not a kid. He's not 20, 21 years old that only had 1 season or 2 seasons under his belt in college. He's a 24-year-old man who's probably has more experience in the Matt Canada offense than any of the other quarterbacks there, because you have to realize Matt Canada recruited him to Pitt. Now, he didn't coach him. However, Pickett came out and stated that they kept the Matt Canada offense at Pitt, or a majority of it, a lot of it, right? And so Mason has been in the system the longest. However, this system wasn't one that was dedicated for Ben running the ball or doing RPOs or things of that nature. It was a Ben version of the Matt Canada offense that they've been running for a while. Mitch Trubisky was on the bench behind Josh Allen, and prior to that was in Chicago with Matt Nagy's style of offense. So when you look at the RPO game and you look at jet sweeps and things of that nature, in my opinion, Kenny Pickett probably has more experience than the other quarterbacks in that style of offense and probably can run this more efficiently. That's why he looks more comfortable in the pocket, and that's why he's able to do more with what he has. And that's why we've seen more of him in preseason, in my opinion, of course. And I was like, and so with that being said, I just don't think that at this point of his career that it wouldn't be a bad thing to play him. It really wouldn't. Let's see. Hey, Ali, how's it going? Put the kid in and save season tickets. He can't do worse. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Hey, Dad, how's it going? This is my father. Kenny Pickett is ready. He played a lot of football in college. He is ready. I 100% agree to that. 100%. 100%. Oh, this is so Devin from the Here We Go show. Please go follow, like, and subscribe him. Great friend of the show. He's been on the show. Truly got great insight as well, especially offensively. He's got a great insight about what the Pittsburgh Steelers are doing. He says, dude, the crowd during the Steelers fan walk of shame at the game said Mitch is playing to keep a job and not playing to win. I don't disagree with that. You know, and he plays a very prevent style offense where he's trying to prevent the mistakes. And when you play that, it's like playing prevent defense, and it's the same thing as it's going to prevent you from winning games. Well, we're getting a little bit long in the tooth, guys. I do want to tell everybody real quick that we are giving away 2 tickets to see the Steelers play against the Las Vegas Raiders on Christmas Eve. These tickets are in the lower level. All you have to do to win these tickets is be a subscriber. So please hit that subscribe button. On October 30th, after the Eagles versus Steelers game, I'm doing the post-game show, I'll be announcing the winner. You'd want to be present on that, so please hit that, ring that notification bell. But we'll be giving away 2 tickets. They're in the lower level. All you got to do is be a subscriber. Good luck, and go Steelers. Let's. I just want to let everybody know while we had a few people still left in the chat who may or may not be subscribers. Give them the information like, hey, go win 2 tickets. During halftime of that game, the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be retiring Franco Harris's number. And so you don't want to miss it. All you got to do to be entered into the contest is be a subscriber. Let's see. This is exactly what I've been saying. Mitch Trubisky looked like he's growing. Hold on. Maybe I read this wrong. Look, I'd rather lose with a rookie growing and learning than a 6-year vet who pisses down his leg. I read that wrong. I thought he said that he looked like a rookie that's growing versus a 6-year vet. But yeah, no, I agree there, Mr. Hammers. I agree 100%. It was bad. It was a bad situation. Master of Go cannot play conservative, need to stretch the field. I agree 100%. Like I said, at this point, it just comes down to experience. I think this defense it's going to become a distraction. Players are going to start to be asked about the position, and you can guarantee it's going to be a distraction. If Mitch doesn't play this game well in Cleveland on this Thursday night, I expect to see Kenny Pickett come the New York Jets game. If it doesn't happen, and let's just say the Steelers drop down to like 1-3, man, what are you waiting for? I mean, the only thing you're doing is prolonging the inevitable and throwing in Kenny Pickett in a much tougher scenario. I mean, after the Jets, that's on the road against Buffalo, I don't think that's the optimum time to throw in the rookie, But I think he gives the Steelers the best chance to win. He's the best player in that quarterback room. If I didn't get to your comments or questions, I apologize. We'll be doing this again. I do a live on Saturdays. Now, I do have another show that we're going to be doing with me and Steelers Nation Australia and In Hindsight, Nathan Hines. It's called the Unofficial Steelers Podcast. First one airs out on Tuesday. It's a live show. We'll be talking about this game, talking about the upcoming game against the Cleveland Browns. It is a podcast that is so unofficial, doesn't have a official home or a channel or anything. Is a what I call a merry-go-round channel. It's a channel that's going to jump from a podcast that jumps from one channel to another. It starts off Tuesday, Steelers Nation Australia, and then on Saturday it'll be aired on live on In Hindsight with Nathan Hines on his channel. And then the following Tuesday, it'll air on State of the Steelers. So it's going to be going around in a circle. In order to catch them all, you have to subscribe. So make sure you subscribe to all of them. But I'll be coming on live tomorrow as well. Tomorrow night, I have a special guest, a couple of friends of mine from the Drunk Turkey Show, Big Blue and Jaime G. Big Blue is a huge diehard Chicago Bears fan. I want to get his insight and what he thinks about Mitch Trubisky. And, he's seen him play a lot. You don't want to miss it. So tune in. Please hit that like and subscribe button. That way you're also entered into the contest. You catch all our daily segments and our weekly lives. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for interacting in the live chat. Good luck. Go Steelers. We'll get the next one. Peace.